I think it's a natural question is why explore space? And some people have, different people have different views on this. Personally, to my way of thinking, part of human nature is to reach out and explore.
It began here at the Kennedy Space Center, Florida, last summer. A pair of spacecraft, Viking 1 and Viking 2, were readied for their separate journeys to Mars. Each is really two spacecraft in one. A 5,000-pound orbiter with cameras and communications gear, and sealed inside two saucer-like capsules at the other end, the Viking landing craft, a camera-equipped automated biological and chemistry laboratory and seismic station, which has been purged of earthly organisms by being heated in a huge oven. The 11-month, 420-million-mile trip for the two Viking orbiter landers was set in motion by two launches. One in August, one in September. Earth shrinks smaller and smaller as the two Vikings head toward their Martian rendezvous. Then, braking rockets fire on command, slowing the first Viking explorer enough that it goes into orbit around Mars. For the next 2 weeks, the orbiting spacecraft will survey the surface below, transmitting pictures of possible landing sites to scientists on Earth. The Martian surface should be a study in contrasts. From vast, dust-swept plains to immense canyons and frost-covered plateaus, huge gullies and channels photographed by earlier Mariner spacecraft are believed to have been caused by running water sometime in the distant past. If all goes as planned, the first Viking lander will separate from the orbiting command ship and descend to the Martian surface, landing at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, July 4th. The second Viking is scheduled to land on September 4th, 1,000 miles to the northeast of Viking 1. How will Viking go about looking for life on Mars? We asked Dr. Richard Young, NASA's chief of planetary biology.
We look for life on Mars in much the same way we would look for life on Earth if we were forced to use an automated device. We don't send a scientist along. If we were sending a little wagon out into the Sahara Desert or one of the dry valleys of the Antarctic, which had to function all by itself with automated equipment, this is probably exactly what we would send. And let me say, by the way, that we're looking primarily for microorganisms. It would be rather fruitless of us to look for horses on Mars. We wouldn't look for horses on Earth if we were looking for life, because the chances would be 1,000,000 to 1 against finding them with a random search.
Viking's mechanical arm pulls in a scoopful of Martian soil and drops it into a 1 cubic foot box that's really 3 completely automated testing laboratories. It is here that the possibilities for or against the presence of life will be determined. What will it mean to Earthlings if life is found on Mars?
It must mean that the universe is literally an inhabited universe with many planets that have life on it. Now, if there are many planets that have life on it, there is no doubt at all that terrestrial life is not going to be the most advanced civilization, the most highest level of consciousness. We must be somewheres in the broad spectrum of possibility. And that drives you to the conclusion that there may be conscious life elsewhere in the universe.
Several years ago, a professor at Princeton named Gerard O'Neill conceived of the idea of putting large colonies in space, large artificial places where people could live and work. And what we did was to gather together a group of university people to look at the problem of how you would start this whole endeavor, of how you'd build the very first colony.
This is Taurus, the concept that has evolved from the work of these teams of scientists and engineers. They believe the huge space colony could be built before the year 2000.
The space colony has the ability to provide a facility in space where human beings can conduct fruitful industry. The amount of sunlight that is present in every square mile of space is enormous. and that provides enormous energy. One of the things that one can do is to build very large solar power stations which collect sunlight, and to use that power either at the colony or to transmit it to Earth in the form of a microwave beam where it is collected on Earth and put into the ordinary electrical power system. The materials for the colony and for the power station largely come from the moon. It is much cheaper to haul the materials from the lunar surface than it is to bring things up from the Earth because of the difference of gravities. And so it is the abundance of good material for building aluminum structures and glass structures in space that come from the moon that make the idea work.
Constructed almost entirely from ore mined on the moon, the Taurus colony would become home for 10,000 people. They would live, work, and be protected within a vast wheel more than a mile in diameter. The Earth-like environment would even simulate our gravity as the wheel revolves once each minute.
The other materials like food and water are maintained locally within the colony. The initial supplies are brought up from Earth, and then eventually the colony becomes self-sustaining. We got the agricultural system designed so that we could actually feed 10,000 people in an area of just a little over 100 acres. This is very, very, very efficient. We did it by utilizing the sunlight that's available all the time in space, by optimizing the temperatures, by not having storms or things like that that damage crops. And we increased the carbon dioxide levels a little bit so the plants grow a little faster. By playing all these tricks, we were able to generate this fairly efficient farm in our design.
From dairy farms to manufacturing, the concept of living and working in space is a possibility with existing technology. That new space home, located 250,000 miles from Earth, would even have a far-out address.
Off the button moon, we follow Mr. Spoon. Button moon, button moon, we're off.
There's Button Moon, shining very brightly in blanket sky. That's the Spoon family spaceship. It's taking a trip to Button Moon. Hello, Tina Teaspoon. Hello, Mr. Spoon. He's busy driving the spaceship. Hello, Mrs. Spoon. Mr. Spoon is going to press the round button to make the spaceship land. They've landed safely on Button Moon.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go, and this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.